Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. It's Friday. This is the Hostos Student Leadership Academy Friday Ambassador Workshop Series. Today is the first week in December. It's 12/3, and we are lucky to have with us today one of our alumni, former Hostos Student Ambassador, who traveled through the college in many different areas and provided great service to the community as an award-winning student leader who went on to study at some reputable universities. Is currently pursuing a set of careers, not just one career. And she probably will talk a little bit about that in her conversation today. So let's give a warm welcome to our returning Yunerys Liriano.
Yay!
You're
Uh,
on.
well, thank you so much for that. Um, I'm Daenerys, and that's my title. No, okay. Hi, hi everyone. So my name is Liriano. As always, I am super excited to be back with the Leadership Academy, especially here seeing Mr. Jason, who I haven't seen in how long we haven't seen each other for like a month or so. And I'm always happy and excited to be back and talk what I know how to talk. um, Let me go ahead and share my screen. Um, slideshow. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Okay, so I know the name of this workshop is Overcoming the Imposter Syndrome, but I honestly prefer the name Shining over the Imposter Syndrome. I think it's a better explanation that overcoming. I feel like when you shine through something, of course you overcome it. So I feel like shining will be the really first step of it. So, introduction. Thank you, Jason, for the great introduction, but I'm gonna say a little bit more about myself. I'm Untitled Liriano. I was a student ambassador when I was part of Hostos Community College. I started 2013 as a business management major and graduated in, believe, fall 2015. During my time in Hostos, I became part of a huge amount of different um, organizations, being the Hostos Leadership Academy, um, also the student government, which I believe 2014 was the year that I was part of the student government, and as well, I was part of the Alma Club. It was Latinos Achieving Success club that was started in Hostos, and hopefully still going on. Love Almas. During my time at Hostos, I also was part of American Institute. If you haven't heard from Jason, American Institute is a fellowship program um, that help first generation students through mentorship and career advising to um, achieve better status and get through their academic life and career life towards the goals. I was also part of Phi Theta Kappa, which is probably also something that Jason had talked to you about. Phi Theta Kappa is an honor society. We usually have our initiation ceremony at the cafeteria. Because of pandemic, I probably wouldn't be able to, but I'm really excited for Phi Theta Kappa. Also, as part of the business management major, I was part of the Alliance of Business Students. That is on a program for the business management majors at Hostos. And when I moved to the George Washington University, which I did after Hostos Community College, I became part of Phi Sigma Sigma. I'm part of the Kappa chapter. Phi Sigma Sigma is one of the Panhellenic sororities, and the Kappa chapter is in the Washington area. I'm really fortunate that our office is in Maryland, and that really interesting. Our really first chapter started in Hunter College. Um, that was a sign for me that I was in the right place, because I had arrived from CUNY and I was like, oh, Hunter College, I know Hunter College. So that was great. And I graduated, I started 2016, graduated in 2019 from the George Washington University in Washington, DC, in international affairs and economics, major double minoring in international economics and business. And I guess that you're saying, oh, wow, so many success. Well, through all of this many number of successes, there was a lot of imposter syndrome, which I am really excited to start talking about. I always told Jason that and he knows all of my path and all the things, all the conversations we had before. And I always told him that I wanted to talk to people about imposter syndrome, because I feel that there are not a lot of people to talk to us about it. And we all have some great dreams that we want to achieve. And if it wasn't because of Jason, I wouldn't have moved to George Washington University. He told me so many times, you had to apply, apply to all of these great places. And I was like, I'm staying in New York. There's no way I'm gonna move to another place. And it happened. I always thought that it wasn't going to be possible, but I did. I'm really fortunate that financially I'm also in a good position as well. Financially, and scholarships were able to cover a huge part of my tuition over there, even though I also extended myself for one more year because I was double majoring. If you want to know what I'm doing right now, I am currently the Finance Senior Program Associate at the Center for University Neighborhoods. It's a nonprofit that our main mission is to help homeowners and people that are going through foreclosure, need home advising, home counseling, and need things being fixed on their homes. We, together with the government, we try to provide loans to people with zero interest and help people maintain their houses in New York. So basically our mission is maintaining home ownership affordable in New York, in New York State. So again, why am I talking about the imposter syndrome today? Probably with all those things that I probably mentioned, you said, oh my God, you're so successful, you have such a great path, and you have done so great in life. Let me tell you, I have missed so many great opportunities in life that if I hadn't missed them because of the fear, because of the self-doubting, because of all the things going through my mind, I wouldn't be here. There have been so many things that I have wanted to try that I'm trying now, and I see myself having a future on it, but I wanted to try. They are now becoming hobbies. So one of those experiences, if I go into missing great opportunities, I remember going to Jason one day and I was like, Jason, I had a great opportunity to interview at Goldman Sachs through my dream job. So I wanted to become part of the, they have this Latino research program where they usually hire, bankers to start making research in specific areas of the world. And I wanted to do Latin America because I speak Spanish and I know a lot of Latin America. So I was like, Jason, I'm so excited. I got this interview, Goldman Sachs, and it's my dream job. My professor suggested me to go to Goldman Sachs. He was the one who made the whole interview happen and all of that. And the following day, I remember going into the winter workshops, telling Jason, I literally couldn't stand in front of the building. I had to run. I didn't even went up to the actual floor to have my interview happen. I was just like super overwhelmed of the building. I just looked at the building up and I was like, I don't think I fit in. For the people who know, usually companies and banks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, they have what they call Super Day. So a Super Day is a round of interviews that you go through the whole process. It's around 4 or 5 round interviews where they test math and all of your skills. And if you go through the 5th interview, it's like, you are great material to be here. Well, I was such a great material that I didn't even have to go through the interview because I didn't make it to the building. So great. Really fun fact. My friend actually got into Goldman Sachs. I did not. But we all know the reason why. One of the reasons I didn't fit in, I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like I got my position because the opportunity because of my professor, and I was so overwhelmed. I was like, I don't fit in here. There has to be something else. But this is just an example of one of those missed opportunities that I think that the imposter syndrome does to a lot of us. We miss great opportunities that could change our lives 360, and it just let us thinking. Until this day, I'm still thinking I could have been working at Goldman Sachs, but I'm not. Of course, it has to reroute in my life and doing things that I like now. And I don't know if my life could have been different, but I'm not. And that's something that will always stick at the back of my mind. To a struggle in the environment, thinking that you belong and without some real reason. As I mentioned, I work in a nonprofit. I didn't really start it working in the nonprofit in finance. I actually started working in administration. The moment that they told me, hey, we want you to work in finance because you know economics, you know math. I'm currently in the math program in City College. You know math, you know numbers. So you can definitely fit into this department. I honestly, I was like, there is no way I'm going to do this. I had no experience in finance. I had the knowledge in economics. Economics and finance are a little bit different. And to me, it was like, I don't know what to do, but I'm just going to go ahead and try it. I talked to my boss, I talked to my mom, I talked to so many people, which I consider my board of directors. That's something that we can talk about later. But a board of directors are those main people that are kind of like your mentors. And what they told me, why not? Just try it. I did. And honestly, I thought I was going to get into the entry level position. I actually got into the senior level position, which kind of like surprised me. But it's what they told me during the interview. It was like, we noticed that you have been doing such a great work and we think that you are a perfect fit for this. And I was like, I appreciate what you said, but I don't think that I feel like the great fit that you're talking about. And at the moment, I'm doing some department budgeting. I'm not analyzing budgets. I'm looking into government contracts. I'm looking into accounting. I'm looking into a lot of things right now that I probably didn't know, but now I'm working on, and I kind of have to go back and be like, I don't know this, but I had to work on it. Losing motivation to succeed. This is something that really got into me. And Jason knows this. honestly, Jason is part of my board directors. He's one of the mentors that I always go to. There was a point in my life where I said, I'm not succeeding. I don't feel like I'm moving. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. I just feel stuck. And that is also part of the imposter syndrome, feeling stuck, feeling that the position where you are is inadequate. You shouldn't be where you belong. I lost complete motivation of what I wanted to do. I got into the master program, but at the same time, I was like, I don't really feel motivated. I really went through classes as much as I could, but I didn't feel motivated at all. And it had to be a couple of conversations with people where I was like, well, you see things this way, but you could also succeed on this way, until I got the whole motivation back again. And I started seeing myself in another route. That's why Jason says several career choices, because I've been looking into software engineering, I've been looking into data science, especially machine learning. It's related, both of them are related to numbers. So those are things that I could be doing. I'm looking into transitioning to those. Since I was younger, I always liked computers and numbers. And I think with the whole meta that Facebook is bringing up, I feel like it's the right time to do the jump. But it took me a lot of talking to people, and it took me a lot of finding that motivation again. And also spiraling and self-doubt. You probably noticed from all of my stories that I've been doubting myself all the time. And it's so interesting how you self-doubt yourself, and there are people who are looking at you and they're like, but you're great. You're doing amazing. and you're here in the back of your mind like, yeah, I'm not doing so great. And something that my boss really always takes in consideration is that we got into this agreement of telling ourselves words of affirmation. So when we do something good, it's like, oh, you did something great today. It was amazing. And when she does something great, I'm like, you did something good today. It was amazing. I love how you did that. So it's the way that we found ourselves growing as a relationship, as well as trying not to get ourselves into this syndrome of self-doubting ourselves. I want to share a video, a small video, so you know that even people that are really successful out there experience imposter syndrome. And I'm going to share this video of Michelle Obama. I hope you guys can hear it.
Out. It was a question from one of our leaders from Indonesia, feeling you're not good enough.
Yeah. How many people, this imposter syndrome, does everybody know what we're talking about when we say imposter? It's like,
I don't really know that term.
Well, particularly for minorities, there's this feeling like, because you've been told that you're not good enough, that when you're in a room, you're wondering, well, how did I get here if I've been told I'm not good enough? Women feel it oftentimes because society says you shouldn't be doing that, right? So you feel like an imposter in your own life. You feel like, especially if you've achieved success or you're in rooms that you're not supposed to be in because society has told you that, you think maybe somebody is going to discover that I shouldn't be here, right? That's imposter syndrome. Does that make sense?
It sure does.
So what I tell people is, okay, and all I can do is tell you this, because imposter syndrome it's a thing in your head. And, it's just like self-confidence. It's just like, it's like any internal characteristic. Much of it is what you practice telling yourself, and if you've heard that you're not good enough, that's what you're practicing. I'm just here to tell you it is not true. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing if you didn't belong here. And I also have the advantage of And I say this not with any level of arrogance or lack of humility, but I have been at so many powerful tables now, right? I've been at, I've worked in every sector. And I've been a lawyer at a big law firm. I've worked at an academic university, been associate dean. I've been the vice president in community development at a hospital. I've been, I run a nonprofit organization. I have worked in the government. I worked with the mayor in the city of Chicago. I worked in the Department of Planning and Development. I was First Lady of the United States of America. I've seen these seats. I've served on corporate boards. I've done it, not all, but I've done a lot. And I'm just telling you, there are a lot of people who don't belong there. And every table, I thought it was me. And after a little bit, I'm like, nope, it's him. It's this guy who's sitting here talking.
But they
all
act
the
so
time.
well. They act like they belong.
That's because they've been told they belong there. They don't. But there's a presumption. That's what I'm saying. It's in his head too. He's like, I belong here. And I'm like, no, you don't. So all I can tell you is that the person sitting next to you was told, based on nothing, that he belongs there. And you were told that you weren't. Both things are wrong, oftentimes. So what I had to learn to do for myself was being, age helps you with imposter syndrome. So I'm 55 now, and I've seen it. I've been waiting to be as bad as people told me I would be, I've been waiting for when I was going to fall and mess up and fail. I've been waiting because that's what they said. I didn't belong at Princeton, right? I applied to Princeton University. My college counselor said, that's school's too much for you. Well, I applied anyway. I got in. I was waiting for it to be hard and for everybody else to be so much smarter. They weren't. They were just told that they belong there. Same thing was true when I applied to Harvard Law School. Maybe I shouldn't be there. Got there. Nope. They're not any smarter than me. So with all the practice of just going into the room that you weren't supposed to be in and being there and occupying those seats and just doing you and knowing that your thoughts are just as relevant, your experiences are just as important, your insight is just as valuable, so that you will share it and use it and practice being there. That's the work you have to do if you feel like an imposter, because he isn't giving up his seat easily. He isn't going to just say, oh, I understand you don't feel like you belong here. Well, let me make room for you and sit you down and tell you the things you need to hear. They're not going to do that for you, because a lot of times they don't even want you there, even when they need you there. So you can't count on somebody else giving you the self-confidence. That's not how we work, and that's why you all are important, because you're not going to do that for some kid in your life. You're going to make sure that they never feel like an imposter. You're going to help them practice a different set of messages, so they aren't sitting here wondering where they belong in places where we need them. We need women and diverse minds and people who think differently and have different religious beliefs, because truth and the right answer comes from diversity of experiences. You're needed at those tables. So you can't sit there wondering whether you belong, because you'll waste your time in those seats.
Okay. I think that's good enough. But definitely, Michelle Obama literally explained everything that I wanted to say. So we can say this worship is over. But no, I'm kidding. But she did bring up many great points. She said, there are a lot of people who are in places that don't believe they deserve to be there. But there are also people that have been told that they belong there, but they actually don't. They don't fit in the table. They don't fit in the table, but they're there. So how is it possible that we have people struggling with imposter syndrome and being told that they don't belong there, but are the ones succeeding. They're the ones that are not giving up their seat, are the ones that don't even really know that they do deserve to be there. And this is why I always wanted to talk about imposter syndrome, because a lot of us think that we don't deserve to be in that table, but we do deserve to be in that table. We know things that other people don't know. And something that I always remember and always put down when I hear her is that she says, practice and be yourself. Because practicing and being yourself just makes you so unique that it actually gives you that confidence to have that seat on that table. If you guys don't get anything else from my workshop, because I'm probably going to be talking a lot about types of imposter syndrome, I want you to leave with this message that we all go through imposter syndrome. We all deserve to be in the table, even though people have told us not to. And we are not going to give our seats to anyone else. And that we are going to be unique always. So that's the message I want you to keep. And usually people say like, hey, if you want to put your main message on a workshop, please put something visual so people, will remember it. So now I'm going to talk about what is the imposter syndrome. So according to Oxford dictionary, because I like definitions, the imposter syndrome is a persistent inability to believe that one success is not something deserved or has been legitimately earned as a result of someone's own effort. And then I'm gonna go back to my experience when I said like, hey, I don't think that I deserve the senior position that you're giving me. I thought I was gonna get into the entry position. I don't think that the job that I did before was for me to get into the senior position. So this is a perfect example for that. And it can happen to you in any stage of your life. It can happen to you in the classroom, at work, taking a leadership position, at home, being the older brother at school, like partaking in a leadership program or a club or in anything that you believe or see as a leadership position. When you step onto it and you see and think, oh my, I don't think I deserve to be part of this. That's definitely imposter syndrome coming in. So some of the emotions that come to mind when imposter syndrome comes in that are inadequate, like lacking the quality of quantity or something required, or like you feel like there's some insufficient thing happening during a process, self-doubting, the insecurity of something uncertain that is coming in the future, anxiety, which is again a level of intense, excessive worrying and fear of what is going to happen in the future. It can happen as it can look at something that what people are going to be thinking of you, what people think that you actually deserve, and you feel like you deserve something else. Mostly is worrying about the future and at the way that other people are looking at you. Frustration, the feeling of being upset or annoyed, the inability of changing something. Just like myself, when I was standing in front of that huge building of Goldman Sachs, I was like, oh my God, feeling overwhelmed. Now I am here feeling the aftermath of the whole frustration. Like, I wish I could go back to myself and like give myself like in the head and be like, go ahead and at least try it. You know what can happen. And then sabotage, deliberately destroying, damaging, and putting an obstacle into something that it was supposed to happen, mostly people call an avoidance. But on top of this emotions, I want to talk to you guys about this. So if you could share with me an emotion that you feel is not here, that you have or you can recall that you have experienced before, you're able to shut it out. I really like to talk to people, and I feel bad that I'm talking so much. So you guys, if you feel that you can find any emotion that is not here that we can add to the imposter syndrome, you can let us know. Anyone, any emotion that you can recall?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, the question is, if you have experienced imposter syndrome and if there is any emotion that you have relate to or experienced that is not here, you can mention that. Or if you have, if you related to any of these emotions as well, you can mention it. I can't see the chat. Come on, guys, talk to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. My laptop was dying and I had to plug it in. I know you were like, what happened to her?
It's okay.
I think that for me, I suffer from it like it's severe because I have a math disability. I have dyscalculia. So I suffer from it to the point of like how you said you went to the building, but you couldn't even walk in the building. For me is I can't even leave the house because I'm like, you just feel like they're gonna know, everybody's gonna know. And so it really struck me when Michelle said that when you get there, you're waiting to have the feeling, to see the sign that you don't belong there. And then you see like, oh, this one definitely don't belong there. And you realize like you belong, you just have to believe that you belong. So I know that's not the question you're asking, but that's what, like, I wanted to talk about that, like after she spoke, like it's like being a woman, being a minority, all these things that from birth, it's like it's grinded into you, and so when you make like silly mistakes, then you feel like your life is over because you're not supposed to, and you've been told your whole life you're not going to win, the odds are stacked against you. You really start believing it. And it's not even your actions that negates that you're going to win. It's your thoughts. It's other people's thoughts. It's other people's feelings that you now own like it's yours. And it's not even something that you're aware of. It's just like it's like sleeping or waking or needing food or water, or it's just a part of you. It's in, and that's the part that I find that unless you're aware of it, you cannot fight it. You because you're not aware of it. Because this is supposed to be normal. You're not supposed to win. That's just what it is. You're seeing other people winning that are not even as close to you, to who you are, your personality, your strengths, your gifts, your loving, and they're winning. And you it's like how the F, like, and then but you don't know, you don't realize that you're not winning because you have allowed other people to tell you not that you can't win. So, and when you become aware of it, it's very powerful, because now, like, every time I think that I'm like, oh, please, that's BS, I got this. And so I find that, so now it's like I'm a monster almost. It's like, I don't even want your opinion. I don't care. That's nice. That's cute. I got this. Right, so now I'm a monster, and so they hate you when because you're insecure. Oh, you can do this, even though they're telling you can't do it, and they've made you believe that you can't. And now that you're winning, and they're like, oh, maybe you're moving too fast. Like, what? You sure that's the movie you want to make? And so it's so contradictory, and I find that the whole, how we approach life and how we become so hard, because each step it's a constant battle. But then when you learn how to battle it, then you're an asshole. Like, geez, no, oh my God, so it's like, what do you do then? Because now I'm unstoppable, right? And I don't care what you say, and I really don't want to hear what you have to say, because I feel like I've spent so many years caring, and it still got me nowhere. So, and I find like now I don't give a shit. I'm really winning. So now the monster's awaken. What do I do? Do I put them back in the cage? I don't want to, because I feel like now I'm really becoming the person that I should have been 20 years ago. Because I was like this scared little girl all the time because of this disability. And now it's like, what this? So you can't do everything in life. Like, some people get to great father, everyone gets something. Like, not everyone's life is a mirror of the other person, and that's okay. But it took me 20 years to learn that.
Yeah, and something that I want to ask you, and of course you cannot answer right now, but I want you to think further on this, is like, why a monster? Why do you see yourself as a monster?
Well, I think that I say that, but I don't mean it like I'm a monster. I mean, like, I don't care. I don't want to know what you have to say. This is what I'm doing. You can do what you're doing. I mean, maybe it sounds mean, and maybe it sounds callous, but I really don't care. Like, this is what I want to do now, and I'm going to do it, and this is how I'm going to do it. And it sounds mean. My daughter was like, "Oh, you're so mean sometimes," and I'm like, I don't mean to sound mean, but I really don't care. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to get a PhD and say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've wanted for the last 20 years. And I'm finally in a position to where I started at Hostos 20 years ago. And I'm finishing at Hostos on the 16th. And I've been accepted to Hunter, you mentioned Hunter, Brooklyn College. So I'm like, oh God, life is going really well. So yeah, I feel it's like, move, get out my way. I'm not here for any nonsense. So maybe I shouldn't say monster, but yeah, it's like there's a fire inside of me that I never want to die. Until the day I die, I never want this fire to die. If I'm 70 or 90, learning, being better, helping people, this is the second part of my life that I should have had the first part of my life. So my life is kind of upside down. Like, what I should have done first, I'm doing last. And what I should have done last, I did first.
Yeah, I totally understand, and I want to say thank you so much for sharing that. You're super brave for sharing that. And I can actually relate to you, because I was the type of person that I didn't think about myself. Everything in my life was always, I need to do this so I can have a good job for my family. I need to save enough money for my family because I'm the oldest daughter. So for me, it was always, I need to do this so I can care for others. But to a point, I was working a job that I didn't like. I was doing a job that I feel dead inside. And something that really woke me up is because I was talking to a therapist, and she told me, well, if you're not care for yourself, how do you think you're gonna be able to keep helping your family? How do you think you're gonna be able to doing things that you'll it's gonna help your family? And I was like, it's true. I mean, and she mentioned, let's not forget that you have been stressed, anxious, you have a panic attack, and you have all these things, and you are only thinking about caring for your family. So see yourself as if you're caring for yourself, you're caring for your family, and that's what matters. You are caring for yourself, you're doing the things that you want to do, and you are thinking about the others in a different way. It's not that you are mean, it's that you are setting boundaries and you are creating a path where you can be yourself and at the same time care for others in other ways. I don't know if
No,
that
go ahead.
okay. Anyone else?
I just
Thank
want to read a couple things from the chat. I know Brittany's got her hand up. I'm going to let her talk. Sabrina said perfectionism. Ryan said nervousness.
okay.
And then we had
I don't wanna open the chat because people are gonna see things.
Moscata said insecurity and low
Okay.
self-esteem. And Felushu said, I'd say self-doubt. Occasionally, like, did I get something because I deserved it or just because they were checking a box or something?
Mhm.
And Mashada gave some applause. So I think Brittany wants to speak though.
Yes. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Brittany. Brittany.
Yes. Hi, how are you? My name is Brittany Lanzano, student senator and student leader at Hostos. Um, yes, I could identify with that, and I didn't even know it's a real thing, cause like let me put the camera on. My major is digital music design. So I do audio engineering. And so, a lot of the time, because I'm a go-getter, I'm out there promoting myself and everything like that. So a lot of the times I actually get into good situations with nice, beautiful studios. And I'll be sitting in the producer chair, ready to start. And they like, let me see what you got. And most of the time I do well or whatever. But my first initial thought is like, wow, am I supposed to be sitting here? Like, am I gonna know how to work there? This beautiful state-of-the-art $1 million equipment, like, why me? Like, and I feel like I can so identify with that, but then I kind of like rush and knock it out the box so that like I could do what I gotta do, and get what I have to get. Yeah, so it's crazy. I don't know. I feel real nervous, and I'm glad that I came here today because now I know that that's like a real thing, and hopefully I can find out, how to get through it. And I don't want to sabotage myself. And I don't want to, do anything, to make myself look less because I know I got the experience. I have multiple certificates and things that an experience showing that I'm capable of doing this, but I get there and I doubt myself sometimes. And so I don't know. I need to overcome it and identify. Like it sounds like I identified already, but how could I overcome it?
Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else want to share anything? Yeah, go ahead.
So in my case, it's really bad because you already have a degree. In my case, I already have a degree. I already have experience. However, when you get, especially because I'm in a new environment, like I was in New York for almost 10 years and now I moved to another state. And it gets really bad. Why? Because in most of these jobs, for example, within social services, which is my focus and what I study for, they look for this specific type. And at the beginning, when you start going to like interviews and things like that, you don't really notice it. But then you get to a point when they look for a specific type and you're like, well, I don't fit the type. I have the experience, I have the knowledge, but I don't fit the type. So what do I do? And that's when I have found myself sabotaging myself. So I start thinking, well, I don't fit the type, so I don't think I'm gonna get a job. I don't fit the type, so I don't think I'm gonna get that patient or that client or, you know, whatever it is. So it's really hard to be able to disconnect from that mold that jobs have created. And that's one of the things that sort of were mentioned on the video, is that, you know, that person sitting on that chair, he thinks he belongs there, but maybe he doesn't have the knowledge and the experience that you have. So you keep just going back to the mold that you're supposed to, quote unquote, you're supposed to fit in based on what the people that are around already in the industry or already in that placement telling you. And you keep trying to fit into that mold and to try to do things the way that other people are telling you that they should be done or they have to be done, when actually this is not like a one size fit all kind of thing. Your expertise, what you study for, and the experiences that you have gathered, whether it is in school, for your personal life, with other jobs, you know, all of those things come to a play, and you have to sell yourself. You have to put all of those things together and say, look, I understand that I may not look like the kind of person that you're looking for, but these are all the things that I can bring to the table. And maybe you want to see somebody coming to your office for an interview. This is just an example. Coming to your office for an interview that fits that mold, but doesn't have the expertise that I want. So ask that person, or ask yourself, in 6 months, in this position or in this opportunity, what exactly is this person supposed to be? How can this position be successful in 6 months with the expertise that I have? And that's one of the tools that personally I have been utilizing to be able to get out of that self-sabotaging stage.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, because self-sabotage is literally one of the strongest thing that I find in the whole imposter syndrome. Because yeah, you can have a little self-doubt and anxiety and frustration, but it's just, I feel like self-doubting is something that you can kind of brush off if it's not in a high level, and anxiety as well. If you take the right, you know, management and coping techniques. But sabotaging is, it's hard. It's really hard to identify those patterns when you are doing it, and everyone is different. So how do you stop sabotaging yourself? It's like you. It's so I definitely understand that, and it has happened to me so many times. Anyone else before I continue? Let's say anything. Okay. I feel like I'm going through imposter syndrome right now. Because what I'm trying to bring up in this workshop is ways of how we can be aware of it. And what is upcoming in this workshop is trying to figuring out the type of imposter syndrome, so we can figure it out, where do we fit on this and what can we do next. And I feel like I should have focused so much in finding other like strategies to help people out and other methods. But we can definitely go through these types and start brainstorming, and try to find something that fits ourselves, even though it's not a concrete answer, because it's something that we all had to do internal work on. Let me see. Yeah, so type of imposter syndrome. So I recommend everyone to read great books. Books are amazing, and this is a book that actually someone in HR recommend to me, because I went to this person. I was like, hey, I don't feel secure. I don't feel like I'm fitting in. I think I'm gonna quit. I said all of these things. I just went straight to her office and I told her, hey, look, I don't fit in this place anymore. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave. I was I was ready to quit that day. And she was like, why don't you sit down, look at this book? I feel that what you're going through is this imposter syndrome, and read this and try to identify yourself through these types and try to think in ways that you can kind of overpass or overlook what you're doing, because it's like what Brena mentioned. If you are aware of what's going on, you can stop it. You can find ways of, and Angelica too. They mentioned both of finding ways of how to stop what they were doing, and finding other things to do things right. So I feel that if we know what type of imposters we are being, we can really identify what would be steps to stop doing what we're doing. So why this book is so important, on top of me being in a moment of almost quitting my job, um, this book is called The Secret Sauce of Successful Woman. It's not a secret that as there is a 7% more of women suffering of imposter syndrome than men. Um, and her book actually focuses on successful women in the workplace. And that's why you're seeing all these different types of imposter syndromes, um, because you can find these ones in the workplace. And I think that you can find these ones in everywhere, in every area of life. So she mentions these 5 types of imposter syndromes. I myself, I feel like I go through all of them every day. But she mentions the perfectionist, the superwoman or man, the natural genius, the soloist, the expert. So the perfectionist is someone that has been accused of micromanaging or has a micromanager, has difficulty in doing things or feel frustrated and disappointed in the results. I tend to do that myself a lot. When you see that you miss the mark of not being the cutoff of a job or what you're doing, or do you feel like your work is not 100% done or 100% most of the time, this is the perfectionist. This is the great imposter that I believe me myself experience all the time when I am given a deadline at work and my boss is like, why haven't you finished this work? And I'm like, yeah, I actually did it, but I don't think it's 100% perfect. So I'm not giving it to you in another week. And what do you think that affects? That has already affected my performance. And I am ready telling my boss, hey, I already did this, but I'm not going to give it to you. And I'm going to delay everyone's work in our team. The superwoman in men. This is another one that I identify myself with a lot. When I was really young, my mom told me, you go into the office before your boss goes in, and you leave the office after your boss leaves the office. So that first bullet point is something that applies to me really well. Um, Thinking that if I stay, if I do overwork, if I am always there, if I take things that go on top of the things that I'm doing, I am going to think that I am doing a great thing, but I'm not doing a great thing. Getting a stress when you're working and finding downtime and becoming it wasteful, letting all your hobbies aside, sacrificing all the great things that you should be doing, that you should be focusing on, and sacrificing all of those for work. Also, feeling like you haven't truly earned your title. That is something that a lot of us, all of us, go through. So you feel pressure to work harder and longer than those around you to prove your worth. When I was really young, a lot of people told me that I was really smart. I was able to jump 2 grades when I was young. So I graduated high school when I was 16 instead of being 18. I was hanging around kids that were 2 years older than me. I always felt like I was falling behind in terms of like life stuff. Meaning like, oh, these kids were talking and saying like, oh, there is a party and um we should we should we should go to the party and things like that. Well, I never got the age to do that. I was 16 years old, so I never got the age to do it. Um, but I decided to focus myself working hard and proving others that I deserve to be in my grade. And I was always the girl that I was always super smart, and I was doing and answering questions, and I was the only one in my grade that would answer the whole questionnaire that my professor would do. And really interesting. I'm sorry for the word, Jason. I'm really sorry for what I'm gonna say. I hope doesn't stay on the recording, but I bullshitted my way through that. Um, I just and I did it to just to prove everyone that I was worth it to be there and that I was worth to be 100% the super smart one. My professor had this book that she only had. Usually, when you, by the way, I did high school in DR. I did all of my elementary in DR. Usually, you get like a book and a list of like all your books and all the material for the semester. She didn't include that book on it. So we were all going crazy trying to find where the information was. And it was in that book. I actually found the book later in the semester, but the thing is that I really did all of those questions by looking at the dictionary and not looking at the book, and it was a whole mess. But yeah, I went my way through being the superwoman, and did I really needed to do that? Not really. I did graduated with the highest grade in my whole class, and actually in the whole school. But did I really needed to do that? I was already smart enough. I was already younger than everyone else, and everybody knew that I was gonna get a scholarship to go to school. So did I really need to do that? Not really, but I did, and that was really part of being going through the imposter syndrome. The nature genius. Oh my God, here I go again. Did you have a track record of straight A's, golden stars? Yeah, I do. Always since I was younger. Since first grade, I can show you all the certificates I had. Were you told frequently as a child that you were the smart one? Yes, I was. Yes, I was that one. Why do people tend to tell those things to us? Why do people tend to say little kids, oh, you're the smart one, oh, you're the straight A kid? Doesn't that later on in the run just feels like and develops into imposter syndrome? Like, yeah, I need to now hold that I am the smart kid, even though I don't want to study anymore. It happened to me. For a while, I was a straight kid, and then there was a season of my high school where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I didn't even study. But then the whole pressure of everybody else telling me, oh, you're the straight A kid. I was like, oh shoot, I need to get myself into this again. I can't do this anymore. And then it's so funny because after the pressure, it came the self-doubting, it came the anxiety, it came the frustration. I was like, why can I not be like everybody else? Like, they're so chill. Everybody looks so chill. Why do I have to be here with the pressure of being this market? But then it came the whole thing of being validated by everyone else, and I had to be this market. Great. Did you get stressed when you are not working and find downtime completely wasteful? Oh, never mind. That's not that. Do you dislike the idea of having a mentor? Okay, I don't. What do you think, Jason? I don't think so. Okay, perfect. When you're faced with a setback, does your confidence tumble because you're not performing well? It does all the time, and I think that everybody goes through this. when something goes bad, what do you go to? What do you do? What do you say to people? Usually when things go bad for me, I isolate myself, meaning that I leave all of my to-do lists to the back, meaning that I don't do what I have to do, meaning that after I isolate myself, I go through all of this emotions. I have to come in and be like, oh my God, I have to keep up with whatever I'm doing, because now what of my boss is going to be thinking about me. And then it's like, oh, my confidence just goes down because I'm not able to prove that I am that smart employee because I just went through a whole internal crisis. Great. Do you often avoid challenges because because it's so uncomfortable to try something you're not great at? Yes. And that was a really great reflection of me standing in front of the Goldman Sachs building. I literally avoided the whole fact that I wasn't going to make it to that interview. And then, really interesting, my professor started messaging me and he was like, did you go to the interview? Did you do this? You do that? Fun fact, until this day, I'm avoided that professor. And it's so sad because that professor could have been a great recommendation letter for me, could have been another great mentor for me. It could have opened so many doors, and it was so sad to see him leave and losing also trust on me because I wasn't able to do this. That's all, Lois. Do you firmly feel that you need to accomplish things on your own? I tend to do that. Maybe because I was raised as a self-sufficient daughter of an immigrant family, but I always feel like I need to accomplish things and not let people know that I don't have it. And the last few years with the whole pandemic, it was so sad because I needed so much help and it was so hard for me to ask people for help. But it was also the whole extending of people telling me like, oh, you're so strong, you can go and do this. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And then it was me like, no, I cannot, and dying inside. I don't need anyone's help. Yeah, definitely. Did you frame requests in terms of the requirements of the project rather than your needs as a person? When you get a project and you have all of this requests from your boss and it's like, I really need extra time, but I don't want to tell my boss because I have this record of being a perfect employee, and my boss is gonna think of me that I'm not anymore. So my imposter syndrome comes in, and then I'm like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I still need to show this person that I can do this. So instead of not telling the person that I can do this, I even put self-doubt on myself. And I said, you know what? Let me put some stuff on top of that. And I put another project on top of me, and then more self-doubt comes in. And I have self-sabotage myself because I cannot do anything now. I had 2 projects that I cannot do. And then the expert. Do you shy away from applying to job postings unless you meet every single educational requirement? That has happened to a lot of us. Something really interesting someone told me is like, if you feel like you have an 80% of that application, you should go and apply. It doesn't matter. I am that type of person that if I don't have a 100%, I actually do not apply. After the whole pandemic started, I have started to apply jobs, even if I meet at 50%, I do not care. I have learned that. And going back again to that Michelle Obama video, there are people who really don't know anything and are in that table. So why shouldn't I that have 50%, I can go through training and open myself to 75%, not go and do it? Also, are you constantly seeking out trainings or certifications because you think you need to improve your skills? I have over certified myself. I think so. I have done so many trainings, so many certificates, so many programs, and I still think that I still need to do them. And it's because of that imposter syndrome in my mind. I feel like I want to achieve so many things, but still, it doesn't matter if my certificates are enough or not. I need to keep having that record of being the overachiever, the super smart one, the one that is always thinking, the one that is always doing more and going above and beyond. Even if you have been in your role some time, can you relate to feeling like you still don't know enough? That's normal. That happens to a lot of us. So what do I need to keep feeling like that? That I that I cannot do it. Why my question is, what is enough? Why do we think it's enough? And why do we think that we have to attach ourselves to being enough and not being enough? So I know that it currently doesn't make sense to that I spend so many time talking about this types of imposter syndrome, but I hope that by you looking at it, you can identify what are the little things in there attached to the description of emotions that we feel, and we can start managing and coping in different ways that we ourselves can come up with our own strategies of how to deal with this, because I can deal with my own, but I cannot tell you how you can deal with your own using my own strategies. You have to go ahead and identify yourself what works for you and what is best for you. So with these types, which one are you? Which one do you think that you are able to tackle and start tackling little by little what imposter syndrome is? And at the same time, I want you to start thinking, what makes you fit in? What makes you special? Because that's something that you have to keep thinking about every day. We tend to forget what makes us special and what makes us keep maintaining and having that seat on the table. And of course, I have a little exercise that I always tell people, and not really bad because people email me and they're like, here is my best book card, and I don't look at it, but I'm gonna do my best to do it. Through this workshop, I always tell people, keep this with you. Do a baseball card. Put a picture of you and what makes you special. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And why you think that when you're going through this, it's going to become your mantra. Keep it with you all the time. And every time that you need it, you can see it and be like, this is me. And even though I have these weaknesses and even though I'm going through, this is what makes me special. This is my mantra and this is what I'm going to move forward on and what I'm going to do. If you want to do it, go ahead, do your baseball card. I feel like there are some great examples of ways in which sportmen talk about their strengths and how many home runs and how many stuff they had done. It feel good about your successes. Feel good about where you are and use those as a way of like, if I feel like I'm going through this syndrome, this imposter syndrome, let me remind myself that I did this and I can do it. I can do it again because I did it. So again, questions to ask yourself. Which of your successes are you not taking ownership of? Which of your beliefs are kind of like holding you back? Which are your strengths that you are overlooking? There are things that, come on, there are things that you should be able to do that others don't. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to and why you're talking to? It's important. As I mentioned, board directors. You don't want someone telling you, do not do this. That is going to add more to you feeling inadequate, feeling like you don't fit in, feeling anxiety, frustration, sabotage. You don't need that type of people in your life. And I understand completely that you don't want to be mean to people and that you don't, but you need to do it. You need to do it. They're not good people, and there are people that are going to stop you. So think about the people that you're talking to. And when you try to do these changes, you're going to feel so much better about who you are and about your environment. You're going to see that you're moving along and that you're doing things differently. And when you beat this imposter syndrome of like, when you start working on it, reflect on it and think, what were the reasons why I had these boundaries and I had all these things going on in my head? Is it because people around you? Is it because you were raised with it? Because it's always nice to go back to the root of the things that affect you. And on top of going back to the roots, you can, I see it as a metaphor for flowers. You're going back to the roots, and it's up to that root to dry out and die so something new can come in and flourish. So that's how I see it. What can we do to overcome the imposter syndrome? Find a supporting group. People are important. We are not in earth just to be alone. We are in earth to rely on people. And that's something that it took me the whole pandemic to understand, that I need people. Get yourself a mentor. You have Jason, who is amazing. It's a great mentor. If you want to talk to any of the alumni board, I'm sorry, I'm putting you all in the spot, but if you want to talk to anyone that went through the leadership academy, that knows about CUNY, maybe you can hit up one of the leadership academy alumni and they can help you out. Realize that no one is perfect. They're not going to be perfect. And the seat at the table is just waiting for someone to take it. Change your thinking. Thinking is important. We have to identify those things that are a harm to us. Remember who you are, what makes you beautiful. Most importantly, make peace with yourself. Something that I didn't understood when I was finding out the reasons why I was going through imposter syndrome is that, oh my gosh, I wish I could amend things that I said, that I did, that I didn't do, with people, with companies, it's just being peace with yourself. Think of this as a new start. Think of this as a new change. A second life, like someone mentioned. Being yourself, just feeling peace, leave things behind. And stop measuring your success with others. That happened to me all the time. Believe me, I went to a school that I didn't look like anyone else. I went into my major not taking the principal and fundamental courses. And then I was taking this advanced level economics courses, and I was like, I don't understand any of this. And then I was looking at my classmate, and they were, oh, didn't you finish the homework? We were just sitting right there, and in 15 minutes they had done the homework already. And I'm like, I'm still struggling with question one. What do you mean? Don't compare yourself to others. Stop measuring your success with other people. Later on, I find out that this same person that was working with me doing this homework, he was cheating on the test. And I was looking up to him. I was looking up to this guy like, wow, you did so good on the test. And then when I found out that he had the notebook under his lap, just looking at it and filling out the questions. And I was like, it's also the question of like, are you like morally succeeding? Like, is that even a concept? Like, are you morally succeeding? Are you succeeding the right way? Would you be okay doing something to like that? Like, stop measuring yourself with others. You don't know how they're achieving things. You don't know what they're doing to get them. Just know that you're going to the right path. You have values and you're doing great things. Just go through it. Don't compare yourself. Don't do that. I was measuring myself to a really bad person. He just have a really terrible personality, and on top of that was a terrible student. Be vulnerable. Be vulnerable to talk to people. When you find that support group, please don't be not open to others. I think that is such a. I have been putting walls to myself all of these years, and I feel that now that I have lowered them, is that I have evolved as a person because I've been able to be vulnerable and talk to the people I had close. I have people and friends that had told me I've been knowing you for like 7 years and I didn't even know that you like this. And I was like, well, because I'm opening myself to. So be vulnerable. Don't. I understand that there is fear that people are gonna harm you and that they are gonna be mean, but everything is how you take it. It's okay if they harm you. Just know that someone better is coming along and that you open up to the right person, and you just not stop not opening up to the right person. Develop a healthy response to the syndrome. Now that we know all these types, all these emotions, develop your own plans. I think that developing something for everyone is not achievable because we don't go through the same thing. Our life is not the same. But develop your own thing. Why rely on what someone else is saying? And I'm sorry, I'm doing a workshop on this. And I'm literally saying, don't rely on what I'm saying, but develop it yourself and share your experience with others. Just like Michelle Obama said, identify what you're going through, identify the way that you can cope with it, and don't stay quiet and talk to others. I have always been afraid of this whole workshop because it's such a heavy topic and there is so much going on. And I was like, oh my God, what if someone says a question? What if someone asks a question and I don't know what to say? Um, what didn't stop me is because I wanted to share my experience with others. And I feel way much better helping others than just staying with the knowledge myself and not helping who I need to help. And I appreciate everyone at the Leadership Academy. And I think that if I know something and I can share that knowledge with someone else, I would do it in a heartbeat. So, whatever you know, share your experience with others and your knowledge. What can we learn from the imposter syndrome? Outer assessment, get to know yourself. Greater confidence, as stronger for the next grow obstacle. Finding your own niche, your group, your friends, your people. Also creating new ideas. Um, Honestly, there's so many things that we can start creating in regards to imposter syndrome. Maybe we can start teaching kids how to not go through the imposter syndrome when they're younger, of how we can start adding classes in elementary grades so people don't have to go through imposter syndrome later on. There is so much that we can start creating by just acquiring knowledge. I always say people acquiring knowledge. Knowledge is great. And start sending help to others. What has helped me through this whole pandemic is helping other people. Um, I was always afraid of going to other people and tell them like, hey, do you need this? Do you want me to help you with this or this or that? And sometimes I overhelp. I overextend myself on helping. But extending help to others is also a way of knowing and identifying patterns in yourself too. And that's the end of my presentation. I think, yeah, yes. Any questions, any discussion, anything that you want me to talk about, anything that I should share? Anything?
So I just want to capitalize on a couple things that you said, and also things maybe that came up in the chat or in the conversation.
Oh,
I
there.
think
One thing's been in the chat.
somebody has their hand raised.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. No, I think that finding a mentor, somebody who can advise you and guide you and keep you on track and give you guidance and be truly honest with you and tell you when you're messing up and tell you when you're stopping yourself from doing things is a great advantage that you can give yourself. And this is not, I'm not speaking for myself. I'm just like right, we have a lot of speakers that come. I always call them tangential mentors. And you also have faculty members who you work with, and you have people in your life, in religious organizations, at work, in your personal lives. Having a mentor, somebody who can guide you and sort of kick you back from being in the fog that you put yourself in, whatever it is, however you would describe it, perfectionist or working by yourself, however it is that you visualize that, having somebody that can talk to you about that is really important. I think, as you mentioned this at the beginning about your board of directors, can you just sort of flesh that out a little bit for people?
Yes, so board director is a concept that a lot of people had come up with, and it's composed of, I, uh, I say a number of five. I don't know if there is more. I mean, you are able to do whatever you want, but a board director is a group of people that you look up to and you consider mentors. I consider myself fortunate that when this was mentioned to me, I've started looking into it and assigning certain people to be my board directors. So I kind of like have a mentor for every area of my life. It can be different, but sometimes, um, it, how do I explain this? Usually for like mentorship, like leadership mentorship, I go to Jason. Yes, Jason, you're that one. When I go into career mentoring, I go to my mentor, Africa Nitsu. She is a great mentor. She knows a lot about the whole career. She studied economics and she is where I want to be. She's currently working in Facebook right now, doing great. Um, I have my mom. I feel like she is my emotional mentor. And I also have, um, I would say, I would say a health mentor, but this person is super close to me. She keeps me on check. So I currently have four of them. And that's something that I would advise everyone. I'm not telling you like, hey, have a mentor for every area of your life, but at least have someone that you feel comfortable talking about an area in your life and you feel like that person can give you great advice. I don't know if I answered your question, Jason. I think I did.
No, that's great. I think it's
Okay.
important. The other thing is, Rena, you talked about the term, and I don't know if is Rena, she's still here. The term monster, and this is part of the thing. Like, so you're, it's about stereotyping yourself in a negative way in your own brain, right? Because even if monster for you is like, I'm taking action, I'm fighting the battles that I want to fight. Um, the term in your brain might mean something else, right? It might mean whatever monster means to us, individually. And by categorizing it as monster, you might create a wall for yourself as you try to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. So I think the better way to look at it is just to come up with a positive phrase for that, right? Motivated, ambitious, driven, willing to go way beyond everybody else. Whatever words work for you, I think that's really important.
And
And
then,
I think, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say really quick on that. Um, I've been talking to a therapist for a while, and what she always said is you have to be careful with things that you say, even though you think like they don't have any effect. Actually, what you say reflect a lot of what you're thinking and how you're seeing yourself and other people. So just to add a little bit on that.
Yeah, and then Brittany, the great thing about what you said in terms of like getting into the room and being there and just feeling like, it's a moment of like you may stumble over yourself in that moment. I think you already sort of suggested that you overcome it in your own way, because the battle is all internal and just realizing that you're in the moment. And the one thing that works for me, because I fight it too, in my life, is you there. So when I first took the job at Hostos, I had 30% of what they were looking for my position, right? I had been a professor and a teacher. I had not been an administrator. And so I walked in, and the VP gave me a list of things that I was supposed to do. And I went home that weekend, and I sweated all through the weekend thinking, I don't know what parliamentary procedures, I don't know what this is, I don't know, how am I going to do all this? I was like, okay, I got to quit. I got to find another job, right? Because I can't do all this. And I went into to the VP, it was the dean at the time, and I said, I can't do it. He says, no, 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 that's not your job. Your job is to hire the people to talk about these things. I said, oh, that makes sense. I can do that. So I think it's that moment of like a realization, whether it's with somebody else or by yourself, of just like realizing that, this, whatever it is that I feel is my stumbling block, whatever I feel is the obstacle, I'm just going to leap over it to the best of my ability. And you use the BS phrase. There's another phrase that you can, it's like fake it till you make it. Like
I'm sorry, Cutie.
That's okay. Uh, you know, sometimes just when you're in that room, sometimes even if it seems overwhelming, just like having the mindset in your mind that I'm supposed to be here, I have something to contribute. There's something important about me too. I don't know what the heck they're talking about, but I'm gonna chime in. And when I had that same, I'll tell my story too. I don't think I've told you the story. I got to Columbia, and I had one of my first assignments that I had. They gave me this German phrase, and this is what we were supposed to emulate in terms of our writing. And I went home, and I was laying around the floor. I couldn't get anything to come out of my head because I'm thinking, what is this German phrase? What is this all about? I look it up on the internet, look it up in the dictionary, look it up in the encyclopedia, try to figure out what the heck they're talking about. And I just rolling around on the floor and fell asleep, and then woke up and just started writing. And then it all came out. It's 10 pages, and it was like, and I brought it in and I gave it to the people who needed to look at it. I said, "Well, this is completely wrong, but this is incredible, and we have to do this." And so they did it, and it was incredible, but it was completely wrong. It was completely not on the topic. It was completely not what they were looking for. But that's kind of what the point is about this, right? Because we're all individuals. We all have special talents. We all have special gifts, and what we bring to the table is those special gifts, right? Nobody could have written those 10 pages that I wrote for that particular assignment because nobody would have looked at it the same way that I looked at it. I looked at it in a different way because I didn't understand it, I didn't get it, it didn't fit in my brain. But I made something fit out of it, right? Come out of what it is that they were looking for that worked for people around me, and everybody loved it. I'm not trying to boast or anything. They didn't like anything else that I did the rest of the time I was at Columbia as much as they liked that piece, which was all wrong. Like everything else, I did the right thing, and nobody ever liked it as much. That piece, everybody loved. I mean, like applause. I mean, like professors telling me how great it was, the whole thing, but it was completely the wrong thing. So I think that's something to take from it as well. And I think you have somebody who wants to speak. Mascana, did you want to say something?
Come on.
Kind of. But my internet is kind of like messing up today, but I will try. uh, honestly, today is like the first time that I've heard about the term imposter syndrome. And one thing that I really like is what Michelle Obama said. And in her interview, she said that it's something that happened here that we have in our heads. And that means nobody else is seeing what we are going through. And listen to Yunerys on her development. It shows that most of us, we need to reprogram our brain, reprogram ourselves based on what we have been told, especially the the self-doubts, lack of confidence. Some of the time it comes from within the family. When the parent will say, oh, you are not good enough, they'll be comparing you with your siblings. Then sometimes we grow up thinking like, oh yes, I'm the dumbest kid in the family. My brother is better than me. My sister is better than me. I'm the one who is not good enough. And now the society in which we grow up in also to a lot of those self-defeating word toward us. So based on what Michelle Obama is saying, is something that we need to work internally to start telling ourselves that we are good enough, and then to deprogram what we have been taught when we were younger, and then what we ourselves came to believe that, okay, now I'm this. So it will take some effort and it will take a lot of work, like what Untitled was saying, that something that works for her might not work for us. So we cannot just like copy and paste what work for Jason or what will work for me. And as for myself, I like to challenge myself and go against the crowd. When people say no, it's hard to do it, I say, why don't we do it this way? And when they say that, if someone tell me, oh no, I can't do this, I say, why can you do it? So it's like when we start making ourselves up to the challenge that we are facing, then we start believing in ourselves. And don't let other people put us down. And also sometimes we need to fight one of the greatest enemy, who is
You all
ourselves.
right with the gin?
So
I think Miss Khan, I think you may have muted.
okay, do you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, as I was saying that we need to fight one of the greatest enemy, who is ourselves, because most of the time we self-defeat ourselves before even we go to the battle, because we think like, oh, I can't do it. And someone who say he can do something, that means he cannot do it, because you self-defeat yourself. So we need to start thinking of ourselves as being a capable person. And like what I used to tell, I'm part of some mentorship program in Lehigh University. And what I used to tell my mentees, they are where they are because they belong there. And they themselves need to start feeling as okay, I'm capable of doing this. When they accept you at the Lehigh or at Carnegie Mellon, that means you are worthy, and then you are capable of or you belong there, and you are capable of all the requirements that are required from you. Then you can meet them. And as a human being, I think we are adaptable species, and then evolving. So I have another job that I even didn't think that I would be able to do it. But as we put effort in, we start learning new skills, and we become better at what we want, as long as we put our mind in. And I'm listening to John Moran. I don't know if you guys know him, but he said that we become what we think of ourselves. So what Jason was saying regarding the participant who was talking about the monster is true. When we start thinking about, we start telling a negative thing to ourselves, we start thinking negatively. But if we start putting a positive thought in our mind, we start radiating a positivity around us, and that will give us uh, more means to be able to overcome this imposter syndrome. I'm done.
Yeah, so I just want to say, we had a few alumni in here with us today, including Mascana, who graduated from Hostos and went to Carnegie Mellon and Lehigh, and is a brilliant engineer. Thank you for being here, Mascana, today and sharing. And I want to capitalize on something that Yunerys said, and this is something for all of us to think about in terms of imposter syndrome. What we learn, and the reason why Yunerys is talking today is because what she's learned, I think, has impact and meaning to students who are at Hostos now, and she was a student when she was younger. And so there's a story and there's a line of thinking that can be dissolved by sharing experiences. And what I would say to each and every one of you as you go along your journey is that, whether it's your children or whether it's your friends or whether it's people in a neighborhood or whether it's somebody that you meet at Hostos or any other college that you go to, sort of giving them this power to overcome this type of syndrome is extremely valuable. And so, I'm always about sharing. So one of the things that Yunerys didn't list on her resume is that she had a desire to do diplomacy. And so when one of our alumni became a United States diplomat a couple of years ago, I was invited to the ceremony in Washington D.C. and she was studying in Washington D.C. I went to the ceremony and there was a gathering after the ceremony, and so I texted Yunerys and I said, I'm in D.C. You want me to come get you and bring you to meet Samantha, who was the newly minted United States diplomat? And she said sure, and I picked her up and brought her out to the event, and she got to talk to Samantha, and a number of other alumni were there who she got to engage with, who went into different fields. And the point is, share this as you go along. I'm willing to share with all of you. So if you have dreams and desires and goals and you think you want to go someplace and you want to talk to somebody who's gone there, I have 14 years of a catalog of both people who've given these lectures, speaking engagements, workshops, as well as alumni who graduated from Hostos, who have gone on to those places and are willing to take a text message or a phone call and give advice. And that happens every day. The latest thing was we have somebody who is accepted to Columbia University and needs to figure out a way to make the ends meet. And so I keep reaching out to different people to see if there's some way to do that. We had somebody who was looking, to buy a home. We have some people who are in real estate, who've gone into real estate, to ask them, for their guidance and support, to give that person an idea of what can happen next. And and so I do it, and I'm going to continue to do it because that's what you guys signed up for. You've signed up to have this, my resources at your disposal. But also I want to say to you, because you engage with lots of different people in your life, is to sort of empower them and to give them the strength of character and will to understand that there's so much more that they can do. There are so many opportunities that are open to them that they may not even see. It can be as simply as the person who just doesn't think that they can go to college, right? Because they didn't graduate high school or they were very bad in high school. You can tell that person, yeah, you can go to college and you can be a 4.0 student. And we've had that happen where students, who didn't do well in high school, didn't fit the mold of whatever, New York City high schools was, and they take that step. Or somebody, coming back after all the years away, right? It started a family, started a business, never thought about getting into college, but really wants to educate themselves and give them the knowledge. Those people need to realize that the imposter syndrome can stop them from getting to those places. And what opens up when you do that, when you actually give that person that vision for themselves and make them realize that they can do this, is that a whole set of scenarios opens up, right? Yunerys can dream of 15 different careers because she took the steps in one direction or another over the course of her time at Hostos and then GW and then in her own career, right? So it's a never-ending journey. Most people, research says, most people, and sometimes the colleges trick you about this, are not going to go in the career that they are studying for at their associate's or bachelor's degree level. So just about 60% of everybody who ever goes to college never ever goes into the career that they're expecting to go into, or leaves that career very early and starts another career soon after. And that's part of the process. It's realizing what you like, what you care about, what you don't like, and coming to terms with it, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and leaving certain things behind, and also taking steps in a direction without any fear. And that's the hardest thing. I mean, most of us face that same problem in terms of what we would call imposter syndrome, of like not realizing that you can just be about just about anything that you want. There's very few people who, you know, are like Samantha, who just will run through life and say, I can be this, and I'm going to be this no matter what, and I'm going to go, you know, and I'm going to run towards it, and I'm going to make sure that I do it, and I'm going to do it my way, right? You know, most of us are not like that. Most of us take a step back. Most of us are like, you know, maybe I should think about this. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I'm not the right person for this. Maybe this program is not right for me. Maybe I can't get to Harvard. I mean, the great story of SLA is that we've had people go to Harvard and Columbia and Stanford and Carnegie Mellon, and sort of talk to people about, you know, what those options are, and brought other people along to those places, or guided them to places that are similar or have similar programming. And I'm not putting down CUNY in any way, shape, or form, because we've had people do that as well, right? Say how good, you know, coming to Baruch or Lehman or Hunter or City Colleges and those programs that are there. But it's a great opportunity for you all to sort of empower somebody and help them to dissuade within themselves the imposter syndrome. Right, even as we were going in through this, the workshop, I got a text message from Michael Cruz, who graduated back in, I think, 2011, who was the predecessor of Yunerys's, and actually came to Washington, was living in Washington, D.C., met with our group in Washington, D.C. about the Model UN a couple of times. So he just texted me today that he was accepted into the Wrangell Fellowship. It was a major...
Finally! Yes!
And so, you know, these stories are great, and it's all about taking risks and taking chances and really pushing the boundaries and realizing that you do belong at these tables, in these places, expressing your opinions and your ideas, and sort of contributing to the mix. And in the world today, with all of the mixed up, crazy things going on, your voices are essential to trying to fix a lot of what's broken. And sadly, there's a lot that's broken. So that's why we do these things. That's why we come here on Friday afternoons. That's why we have an office like we do. That's why we volunteer in the community and give back, so that we actually are making an impact, and people realize that there are people like yourselves who really want to make a big change in society, whether it's on American soil or around the world, whether it's in a small way in your local community, on your school board, or whether it's in a political way, or it's whether in, you know, it's a world NGO kind of way. Everybody has their own dream and vision of leadership, and we just get together here to talk about the basics of it and sort of like hash it out, so that you guys can, you gentlemen and ladies, can go out there and actually make an impact on the world, which is what I'm always most proud of, and the reason why I continue to do what I do. So I know it's a little early, but I also know that Yunerys said she's done with her program. I want to honor you guys and your time. I just want to mention that next week we have our final workshop of the semester with Dan Gannon, and it's Do It for the Dopamine. And I know you guys are going to be entrenched with finals and everything, but we're about to take finals. And so I would say, but come for the workshop and see Dan speak about how to, like, you know, really use your brain to make you function better, especially in stressful times and demanding times. So let's give a round of applause to Yunerys. Yunerys, thank you for being here. Thank you for your work. Really appreciate you. I want to thank all the alumni who stopped by today. I want to thank all of you who are here, who contributed. and made remarks and put things in the chat. Really appreciate that. And you know, for me, just to say one final word about Yunerys, because I know, like she's a former student. It's really important, right, for Saint and Yunerys and others to come back and make contributions like this, because if you don't learn from your network, your family, who do you really learn from, right? So it's always great to have somebody return, come back, share their experiences and their knowledge, and hopefully inspire you in a way that you never thought you were going to be inspired. So thank you, Neris, for doing that. I want to wish you a good weekend. By the way, I mentioned earlier, just before we started recording, that the certificates are made. The attendance sheet was sent this week twice, on Tuesday, I think, and then on Friday, an updated one. And I'll update it next week based on this workshop. And then at the end of the workshop next week, I'll give you the link for the certificates, and we'll also send out a survey next week for all the workshops so that you guys can evaluate them. And the final thing I'll say is that we will do, that'll be our last workshop of the fall. We will do a winter workshop series the second week in January. We do 8 workshops over the course of 1 week. And we'll send information to you and everybody else at the college about that. If you have friends or you'd like to participate, or you have people who don't even attend the college who'd like to participate, we always welcome that. It's usually a well-attended event. We used to do it in person. We used to do 19 workshops in 1 week at the college, and we'd end with a big dining etiquette workshop, and we'd do Tai Chi in the morning. Pandemic is really not helping us, so we're going to do another virtual one this year. But I'm hoping that we're going to go on retreat in the spring. I hope that the pandemic sort of drifts away and we'll be able to go out into the woods and do the high ropes and the low ropes, and be able to sort of spend some time by the campfire together. Because looking at your beautiful faces or your beautiful names on the screen doesn't fulfill me completely, because I love being engaged with all of you. I think Mascana and Yunerys and the other alumni will tell you that the joy of my life is and has always been being in a place with you, whether it's in Washington D.C. or whether it's at another conference in Albany, or whether it's on the retreat. It's always a great time, or even the winter workshops when we were, we pushing those 19 workshops over 4 days in January, sometimes the coldest days of the year, just to be able to have a cup of hot chocolate or a cup of coffee with you, get knowledge shared and do some Tai Chi. I miss those times. I'm looking forward to the time when we get to go back there. And so I hope you guys, all of you ladies and gentlemen, are looking forward to that as well. And even if you graduate, sometime in January, please know that you're always welcome to come back. This is supposed to be your home, and I am your recommendation letter. I'm your phone call if you need it. I'm the person who you can contact and let know that something went wrong, or you need a little help with something, or you need some guidance. I will be there for the rest of your life. That's my commitment to you, right? You made that commitment to this program, which doesn't give you anything specific in return, right? But it gives you a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. And the one thing that I promise to give you is my full attention and support. So I'm here for you. I wish you a happy weekend. I look forward to seeing you next week at our final workshop, even if you can just stop by. And I know it's going to get busy with all the finals and everything. So thank you. I look forward to seeing you soon. Isaac, take care. Mascana, Rosalba, Joshua, Tasha, Junior,
Have a great weekend.
Sabrina, Ryan, Abdul, Rena, Zainora, Folu, Annie, Bridget, Amdia, Cynthia. Take care, Yunerys. Good job. All right. Stay safe. Talk to you soon.